Not normally, like.
Oh, yeah. All right.
You need to make
I feel lazy if I'm not dressed for work. I also can't really work from home.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
All right.
I go home, I have, like, it's Netflix and sleep.
Already warmed this chair.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
I did.
All right, we ready? All right, so before we start, let's do something. I want to hear something good from each of you, something personal, something business. Tell me one good piece of news business, one good piece of news personal.
I'm
start.
getting married. That's
I
good.
know,
There you
yes,
go. That's an easy one. Yeah.
Now, was that the business or the personal?
Both.
He looks as married as a business.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Spencer?
I enjoy fishing and know more about tax sales than anybody probably ever should.
Good point, excellent, right? Okay, Miss Beck.
Personal, we're having our first camp since COVID hit next weekend.
Woohoo! Yay! Excellent. What about business?
What about business? Is this positive business? I mean, that's what I'm
It
saying.
just doesn't matter.
Business. I learned, I went to see a Lee yesterday on Clio billing processes that I'm very excited about.
Excellent. Good deal.
Personal,
Did you do that?
she's expecting.
Having a baby and glowing the glow.
Yes.
Business.
You're here. That's good.
I'm
Yeah.
learning every day.
There we go. Excellent. Mission.
Personal, me and my husband started line dancing last night.
Is there a demo?
Video?
No, we're just practicing, and I actually had 2 left feet, so it's not really good. But business, I'm learning something new with diamond, learning how to do something new with alcohol notices.
Cool. Excellent. Miss Kelly.
Karis gets to come home this weekend for Valentine's weekend, so that's fun. We're glad that she gets to come home. And business, I am so glad today's here, and I'm so glad it's almost over. I mean, just not you, not you. Let me just like get prepared for it. Like I'm just really glad that we're doing it. It's here, and I'm gonna take a really long time.
I totally agree. Miss.
Getting married as well.
Oh,
You can't use the same one.
I,
That's cheating.
that one is taken.
Listen,
you sound pregnant.
I guess this is a little bit of both. I think the 16th will make 6 months with the firm. So that's
Wow. Wow. So long enough to last, right?
That's right.
Excellent. Miss Lee?
I'm pretty much an open book when it comes to personal. But love my grandkids and I love my work family.
Oh, so good. Miss Green?
We are getting ready to move into a new house.
Oh, exciting.
And after a year of building,
Oh, so much more exciting, yes. Yes, yes.
you know, this is a second career for me, so it's very exciting. I enjoy the challenge of learning new things, and so I've certainly learned a lot in the last few months.
Excellent, super. Great.
Well, I ran the 5K Saturday for the first time, and
And you're still here?
Yes, that's.
First place too. is a-
What? Excuse me, what? You won first place?
Just in my age group.
Oh, like the old group?
Senior citizen.
The senior citizen? The old group, okay, I got you.
Well, it's not winning if you're the only one in the age group. I'm kidding.
It's called finishing. Yeah,
It was, that was my goal, was to
No,
finish.
There were like a lot of folks, weren't
It
there?
was really,
Yeah, okay,
So.
all right.
and business, I'm excited about our new associate starting Monday, and we had a good interview yesterday, and hopefully she'll come on. So we may be adding 2 new attorneys, so.
Pipeline, excellent, right? Super, super, all right. Okay, I'll share. This is great. It doesn't have to be on Zoom, right? Because with everything, businesses are now starting to get out, and I just love being around people, so it's nice not to have to do this on Zoom. And my son is a junior at Auburn. He's in aviation, and he just passed a really, really hard FAA because he's doing his commercial training. So anyway, so he was one of those, you know, when they call, they go, Mom, and you're like, what? Hello? Like, you don't want to listen, but you do. It's like, yes. But anyway, so that was good. All right, so let's start something new. We're going to do kind of small group work now. What we want to do is we're going to start talking about rocks, right? Those rocks are the things that you think are necessary to do in the next 3 months, 90 days. We're going to live in 90-day increments. As a group, we're going to say, okay, out of all the things that are happening, now I'm going to hand out this issues list that, you know, I had to change paper in the printer, you know? So I'm going to hand this out. This is nothing. And so there are a few titles with them. Actually, I'll just do this and you guys can just hand them around. Now, when I say rocks, some of these things are not rocks, you guys. Some of these things are pebbles. And if you think you're going to get away with putting them on the rock list, you're wrong, because we're not. Those are pebbles. We need rocks. So we're going to have some discussion around what these issues are. You guys, not me. You guys are going to start to discuss what things. Now we're going to do something called kill, keep, combine. And that's how we're going to operate through this issues list. So we're going to look, and we're going to kill the ones that have already been done, like in case there's something on there that has been done. We're going to say the ones that are absolutely necessary to keep, and then there's a whole bunch that could be combined, at least in my opinion. They look like they could be combined, because they look like they were very much alike and kind of, you know, symbiotic to each other, so we can combine some of those. So we're going to do a kill, keep, and combine. But before we do that, let me move this over here. Let's look at structure, because we're going to get to the weekly 10 meeting. And that is a meeting that's going to be every Friday. It's going to be at 10:30. And we're going to designate a reporting team to be at that meeting. Now, the reporting team may change over time, but we have to start with something today. So we're going to start and put some names on a reporting team. And you guys are going to report to that meeting, and that may look different later. But right now, let's figure out what that may look like before we go any further. So this is basically your organizational chart. Tell me if I'm wrong. I did a little colored one over there, and I know you may not be able to see that, but I believe this is how it runs. Now, visionary and integrator. Let's talk about that for a moment. First of all, do I have it right? You've got a marketing. Everybody has marketing. You guys may be very small, and there may be just one of you doing it half an hour, but you guys have a marketing. Everybody has a finance and HR, okay? Everybody does. So you guys are paying bills, you've got AR, you've got AP, you have a finance section in your business. You have an HR because you onboard people. But because you're so small, you don't have a designated person for HR, you don't have a designated person for marketing, you don't have a designated person for finance. So you guys are multitasking, am I wrong? No, okay. So, now, under your finance and HR, that's usually where we put admin. Okay, so we're going to put, and it doesn't matter if you want to draw this different, this does not matter. But we have our admin and we have front desk, right? So our gatekeepers, right? Miss Sherry, right? Miss Beth, you guys are gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are the most important people in any business. It's just fabulous. Now under operations, you guys have 4 attorneys right now. It looks like you're going to have a 5th and possibly a 6th. And then we have case chief. I just put case chief. And then we have paralegals, right? And the paralegals go in different, kind of have different specialties, I guess. Is that correct? Am I right? Okay. So, on the reporting team, it's absolutely necessary to have representation from each one of those groups.
So Greg's the visionary, right? Is out of, like it.
Yeah, I'm going to go, yeah. I just said, because I wanted to be the visionary too of my business. I really wanted to. But you know what the visionary does? The visionary comes in and says, hey, I've got some great ideas. This is what we're going to do. Hey, I saw this. And then they go away. You know who does it all? The integrator. The integrator, when you have a small business, we want so bad to be the visionary, but we are the integrator because there is nobody to integrate our vision but us. We're the ones that thought of it, we have to do it. Now, bigger companies, you'll find there's a visionary and an integrator, but the visionary is the one that comes in part-time and says, oh, everybody's doing a great job, pat everybody on the back, we're doing, hey, this is super, I've got an extra idea, and everybody goes, hey, right? The integrator is us. If you own a small business and you say you're the visionary, I'm like, nah, do you go to work? Do you go to work every day? You put on some clothes? No, you're the integrator, not the visionary. Now, what we end up being is visionary / integrator, because we don't have a choice, right? You have a vision, that's why you started your business, right, Greg?
Yes,
Do you work every day?
yes,
You do legal classes every day?
yes,
You oversee?
yes.
Okay, you're an integrator, right? We don't have the option to be a visionary. I wanted so bad to be a visionary, but I ended up being an integrator. So, now, later on, as you onboard more people, can an integrator get out of that role and become more of a visionary? Absolutely. When you get into a larger business, I'll be honest, when I reached 95, when I had 94 team members, I did move into that role. I no longer was in the classroom. I was a business coach only when necessary. I went and I oversaw the programmers just because I knew how to do that. But I didn't do any of those things on a day-to-day basis. But it took a long time to get out of that role. Okay, so I need representation from every one of these categories in the reporting team. So, paralegals. I'm assuming since that says Chief Lee, will you represent? Excellent. Good deal. So, operations then. You guys have 2 offices. Okay, so because you guys have 2 offices, we need representation from each office. Spencer, you do the Birmingham office, since it says senior right there. And Tyler, you're in Ashland, right?
Yes.
Will you do Ashland?
I'm the only one there, so I'll
Okay, good.
It's an easy choice.
It's an easy choice.
I'll take it.
Did you win or finish the race? That's one of those.
I'm fine with finishing. That's okay with me.
He
All
thinks
right.
he's so funny.
So,
I'm walking out.
we're good.
I'm putting my 2 weeks notice.
That's what I'm saying. I was sitting in the back, right? That's why I'm making faces. I was like,
I think it's
oh,
a
It was power.
oh.
That's not what she said.
But I didn't lose a person.
That's what she said.
Got it.
Kelly said that.
What did I say?
I didn't mean to derail you, I apologize.
I'm being bullied by the bosses. It's okay.
I'm seeing that. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that. Tyler.
It's the story of
I'm
my
like,
life.
No. Oh, you didn't derail me. Oh, no. But it's the truth, right? Because in large corporations, you have enough bulk. I mean, how many people work corporate? There's a lot of bulk in corporate, right? There's divisions upon departments and multiple managers, and you have enough bulk to have the luxury of having a visionary. But when you're in a small business, if you're going to work every day, you're the integrator, which means you are carrying the vision and working at the same time, which is why it's absolutely necessary to have something like this operating system that gives you 1 hour, once a week, that's all we're asking for, 1 hour, maybe an hour, 10 minutes, once a week to get everybody on the reporting team, get your heads out of the weeds, look up, figure out what's going on, make sure you're hitting your targets, make sure you're going towards the vision, and away you go. Because otherwise, I've gone into businesses and people are given 110%. I mean, they are in it to win it. But everybody's kind of going in just a little bit of a different direction. Not right towards here, but just a little bit different direction. And it's just a waste of your resource and energy. Okay, finance and HR. Kelly? Yeah, all right. I mean, I'm guessing, right? All right, I need somebody represent admin. Beth? All right. Now, this may change, right? I'm kind of picking. Marketing. Jason. All right. Who's not here? That's okay. All right. So you guys will fill in for marketing. All right. So if we do, Greg, do you want to come? You want to come?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
No.
So that means we have operations, right, covered. We have paralegal section covered. We have admin covered. We have marketing with JC. We have finance with Kelly. And then we've got Greg bringing up the front of the integrated visionary, right? Does that sound like a decent reporting team? Right. All right. Okay. Now, I'll be honest. We're going to talk through this. And the very first couple of meetings, when are you going to start your first meeting? Sorry, I don't mean to be pushy, but when do we start our first meeting?
I think we're gonna try to do Friday.
This Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Like 48 hours from now?
I think Tyler's getting married the next Friday. This Friday is like We've already
Tyler, you gotta do
said-
it Friday.
Tyler's getting married the next Friday.
Can you move your wedding? It's kind of in the
Huh?
way.
I'll ask.
Okay, we
I
got,
won't be
25th
living for the remaining ones, I'll be dead.
Is the
but
25th when he's on honeymoon?
yeah, that's right.
He'll be back to the business part, yeah.
I'll be
Okay.
back, I'll be back on that next Friday.
Okay, the
Hey,
20th.
if you want to start this Friday and do a trial run, right? Hard to run trial, but you know what I mean? It's just fine too. It's whatever you want to do. But I'm gonna be honest, the first one or two, you'd be like, oh, for real, really? Okay. It is different. The approach is different. It's something you're probably not used to doing, but everything is new, right? So just give it just a little bit of time. Now, Greg is gonna facilitate it, and he may do a good job, he may do a bad job, but there's a place at the bottom where you have to be very candid, and that's the whole thing. And I always tell businesses, if there is more candor in your hallway than there is in your conference room, Houston, you have a problem, right? So you rate the meeting, and that's why it's called the level 10. Do you get a 10 out of 10, and you just say, Greg, that was pitiful, I'm just gonna give this meeting a 2, right? If it's not going the way it's supposed to go, and that's how you get better at something. So the facilitation, now there's two things that have to happen in that meeting. Have to have a facilitator, and Greg can start facilitating, and if someone else wants to take on that role, that's fine, and that's just going down the agenda. And the other thing is there's a little bit of paperwork that has to come with that. Now, you guys have Google Drive, right? You're doing all the cloud stuff, right? So it shouldn't be a real big deal. You can put this one document up there in Google Drive, give it the date, the date of this Friday, and then as it changes for next Friday or the Friday after, you give it, open it up, save it as that different date name, and they can all live in a little directory up there. And I'll tell you why that'll be important later. Who wants to do that piece?
Like minutes of the meeting?
No, don't need any minutes. It's a document that you're gonna fill out, that we're gonna fill out today to start with. And then it just grows, it changes, it is dynamic. So as stuff comes off of it, and stuff gets put on it. So you're gonna basically, whoever's gonna do this, is gonna have this piece of paper, if you want, or you can look at it on your computer, doesn't matter. And I'll show you, as you go through it, you may change, modify, scratch stuff off. That just needs to be recorded in the document for the next week. It's easy. It's easy peasy.
Beth?
You want us to try?
I can do, okay.
Now remember, you're gonna have my phone number and my email. And I'll even come sit by Greg if he wants, the very first couple of facilitations, it's no big deal. It's very military-like. This agenda's like bam, 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 bam. And then you discuss. It's like no squirreling, no getting off on a tangent, none of that. Because it has work to do, right? So you're gonna find maybe that just a little bit different. I'm not sure. You guys may have very efficient meetings. A lot of people don't. Okay, so I feel good. We got the little report. So let's talk about ours. 90 days. Okay? I'm not gonna blow smoke. You're not gonna get 100%. I'm just, but what I will guarantee is this. If you give 20% effort, it will return 80%. And if you're a stock market kind of person, that's not a bad run. It will require 20% and you're gonna get 80% back. Now, when you get really good at it, a year from now, you'll be getting a lot more return than 80. I'll be happy for the first month if you get 30. I'll be thrilled. If Greg comes and says, yeah, well, you know, man, I got a 2 on the first one, but they scored me a 4 on the second, I guess I'm getting better, I'm fine with that. Because this is like anything else. It's gonna generate its own energy. Have you ever seen one of those wheels, you know, you start spinning it a couple times, 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden you don't even have to touch it, right? A flywheel, it just keeps spinning on its own. That's what happens with this. All right. Stephen Covey, anybody ever read any of his books? Oh, Stephen Covey, yeah, good guy, anyway. Lots of good stuff. So he always says, begin with the end in mind when it comes to rocks. So what is the end result that you would like to see in a certain area? And then we're going to do what we do in programming, which is reverse engineer, right? So that's how we say. So we go to the client, we say, what is it that you want this piece of software to do? And they tell us exactly what they want it to look like. And we reverse engineer it back to where we need to start to make that happen. So that works in business as well. Best way to do it, easy, simple. That's what we're going to do. And have you guys ever seen, I'm sure you have, maybe in church or wherever, where they take a big container and they take some rocks and they take some pebbles and they take some sand. And the rocks are the things that you're supposed to do, the big things you're supposed to do. But we come in for the day and we get way late. There's a phone call, someone drops in the office, there's a client that you weren't expecting that comes in, and things just kind of go a little bit sideways. So you don't really get those big rocks done. But you get a lot of pebbles, you get a lot of sand, there's a lot of noise going on that day, just stuff churning, right? You're in the weeds. And so you've got one rock and it comes 3:30, you'd like to get out of there by 6, you kind of stuff the second rock in, but it's coming out the top of the jar, and the third rock, well, it's just sitting on your desk, because there's no way you have time for that. So the illustration is then, well, you know what, put the big rocks in first, and then the sand and the pebbles all fill in the gaps, and you get it all done, right? You get the big rocks, and all the noise, and the distractions, and the sideways that goes on. So do the big stuff first. So we're gonna look at those, okay. Because everyone, when you are setting goals, I'm sure everyone's heard of SMART goals, right? Have you? That was something that came out about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, and it became very, very popular, and it's super easy. So when you set a goal, it needs to be a SMART goal. So it needs to be specific, right? Because this is what happens. New Year's resolutions, perfect example. So what's your New Year's resolution? Oh, I'm going to become a better person. Well, good luck with that. Yeah, so how are you going to know? Like, what's someone going to come up and say, you know what, you're a much better person than you were before. No one's going to say that. That's not specific, right? I want to get healthy. That's not specific. I want to go to the gym on Tuesdays for the yoga class, and I'm going to do that for 4 months. That's specific, right? Measurable. You've got to know that there's an end for 4 months. For 2 weeks. I'm going to do this by the end of the quarter. There's got to be a start date and an end date, or it goes on forever and it goes away. It goes into the bin 13. What happens when you see something on your to-do list over and over and over again? Sometimes if you wait long enough, it's not a problem anymore, right? My big business had a business beside us, and we would get crowded and we would use their parking lot. And I kept saying, to the guy, I'll come over and we'll figure out a little payment thing where I can pay you for using your parking lot since you don't use it all. Well, the guy passed away and kind of went away. It was no longer on my to-do list, So I waited so long that it was non-issue after that. So these goals need to be achievable, right? I'm going to be a rocket scientist. No, I'm not. So don't do anything that is beyond what you're capable of doing because it doesn't get done. So realistic, right? So achievable and realistic kind of tying in hand, right? It's not going to do me any good to say that I'm going to go work in Turkey for a year because I'm not. That's not realistic. I'm not going anywhere. So timely has to have an end date. So start and end. So, all right. Love technology when it works. I brought batteries, so we're all good. So some examples of smart locks, right? Update office software, the latest version by the end of Q1. Law firm numbers, and create templates of certain correspondence by the end of the quarter. So there's all sorts of different rock examples that we can look at, but just know that we're going to make smart locks. All right, let's prioritize. You guys have your issue list. This is not for me to do. This is for you guys to do, so you can all crowd around in corners or whatever it is you want to do. I'm going to give a couple of minutes for you guys to start looking at this, then we're going to do a first pass. It's going to be a kill, keep, or combine. So what things are done that were on the list from before? What things do you need to absolutely keep? And what things can you combine? Because they're very much like one another. And if you do one of them, you could easily do the others because you're in the thick of doing it one time. So this will take a little bit of discussion. Now, there are, first of all, I guess what we need to say are there any new things people want to put on the list?
That's what I was gonna say. So this list is, probably about 8 or 9 months ago now.
Oh, great.
All you guys,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
redo.
all you guys sent me, issues and opportunities, and all this is just kind of summarizing every single one of those that y'all sent and kind of copying and pasting them, and she put them in different categories. So there are more, there are different needs than there were
Absolutely.
9 months ago. So that's what I was going to say.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I didn't know that at all. Okay,
Things
very first thing. All right, what are some needs that we have right now? Well, let me give you a minute. Look through the list, because you guys probably forget what you wrote 7, 8 months
Well,
ago.
they haven't seen what everybody put yet.
Oh, well then let's have a reading time. Let's have 10 minutes of reading. Everybody look through it. And then even yourselves, you can start like crossing out stuff if you know that it's already been done.
We can kill number 8.
Yeah, if it is in bold, I thought that it's probably been addressed, so we bolded it, and I think italicized means
That was
that-
your yellow, and that was like it's in progress, or it's
Yeah.
been started, or it's
we
been thought of,
started, but
or
not-
however
but
you wanna
not
put that.
finished it.
Right, okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys to think on that for a minute, and then we'll start discussing it, but you need a little bit of time to read.
You need me to send you a copy of it? I sure will, yeah. We'll stop and have 30-minute break.
You need me to get you?
I'm just getting up to how long the break is gonna be.
What time is it?
It's 11:23.
Okay, so 11:23, what time do we wanna eat lunch? What time do you have scheduled?
It doesn't, I mean, it
It'll
doesn't.
take about 35 minutes to get it ready, so
Okay, so if we said 12:30?
eat at 12:30 or break at 12:30. Break at 12:30.
Oh, okay, so break is when we're gonna eat though, right?
No, we're gonna break and everybody's gonna have about 30 minutes just to kind of go for a walk. and
Oh,
just
yeah,
share.
okay. So it's 11:30, so yeah, so why don't we break at 12? And we'll see how far we get with rocks, how's that?
Sounds perfect.
Oh, that was for me. I just need that stuff, rocks on. Well, see, you never know till you have to do
You're
it.
setting the tree rock to the corner. You'll notice it while it's cherry leaning way back. That's because you keep them fall asleep.
Well, after lunch, we're gonna go get the chair out of town.
Somebody
This is
thought-
hurting my tail well.
Somebody was selling houses, they sold house in the road one time.
Wow.
Like during the summer.
They do.
We were living.
Wow.
Actually, Lisa said, do not put comfortable chairs in here, she said.
I'll take the ride.
Ooh.
It's hard to sit, you guys are used to sitting all day. It's hard to sit.
Feels like
I it comes up. It's hard to sit all day.
Send your rocking chair right
Oh,
there.
look at that picture, I was waiting on Jasmine to say she didn't.
What now?
It's just a rock.
I know.
He's in raise up there before the end of the day. Thank you very much.
He's so kind.
Isn't he though?
He's just like
The baby in the room.
He reminds me of Cole.
He really does.
You remind me of my son. You have that same
Really
demeanor.
do.
next meeting, we'll have to.
We can go get them at lunch.
All right. I know.
I love this game that, if it was uncontested, do both parties agree. When they can. Yeah.
Let's all make sure on office that we put down room for everybody.
That's true.
Such a small little minute detail.
I tell you what, the need for wall stretchers is real.
Spencer just needs to knock out the hairdresser.
Oh, I think my phone, is that my phone?
Is that who's next to you, a hairdresser?
Okay.
What are the possibilities of the boot and
Well,
You know, yeah,
her
I
husband, her husband,
I do.
Oh, he was there, he brought chocolates last
we
week.
could encourage our
Yeah, because
husband.
we're down to 10%.
Yeah, I'll go get it.
Oh, notice I put candies in case you guys are technology, you know, you're getting the shades from no technology.
Oh,
like, you know,
Oh, is that-
cessation gum, yeah, yeah.
No, it's really not. But I was walking through a walk.
Go with buddy.
I know, it makes you want to race some more, it's like, oh, I better catch up.
I love it back there.
See?
I should have been, like, I was being facetious and sarcastic, but.
I like that shirt.
But then, last week.
Oh, thank you.
Take your chocolate.
What does it say?
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, that's what Joe gave
I was
me.
gonna say, yeah, you know where he got it from.
That's a great shirt.
Yeah, the DA gave it to me.
Oh, really? That's scary.
Allegedly.
She seems so sweet, you know? She got some sheep. No, I don't, I think that, he had a PFA. His prior wife.
He came in, we were walking out the other day, and I'm positive he had wet his pants. Like, I mean, it wasn't like something he sat in. I mean, you know,
We
it
need
had
Cleo
rubbed up
training.
into-
Because we can do so much with Cleo that we don't realize.
Did you say we need a trailer?
Training on Cleo.
Training.
Because it can do so much.
I said, that's what we can do, just put a big trailer back in the parking lot. Repo trailer.
Mobile office.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Lincoln Lawyer.
Yeah.
So,
Buy a couple Lincolns.
or call it,
Neither of you got it? Okay, let me
Yeah,
go look,
some-
let me
some
see if I can step somewhere.
Law
with a
firm got a
little
grant
more
from
maybe
somebody,
it's not a
like the
power.
IRD, and then go to rural
no,
areas.
in South Carolina, yeah, several months ago, South Carolina.
I think we should do that on water.
That's what I
We
said.
Dowie,
He's
that's how we
fresh.
opened up in
Y'all
Dowie.
two are fresh.
There are,
That they can
and
really,
there's somewhere around
they
Montgomery,
come in with fresh
like the
eyes.
last US mail.
I'm serious, I like you right. I mean,
Like,
come in
pump
with fresh
off
eyes.
So that's like up in the Great Lakes, snowball kids, that's exactly that.
So I'm trying to.
Yeah, but no, it's like the mailman is on, like,
Y'all come in with
delivers
fresh eyes.
strictly on the river to, it's like that, but it is an actual like postal service.
We finished the website.
Who's attorneys use Clear?
Oh, that's true.
We got that email a couple months back saying we would use Clear Finance.
I guess we need to.
That's mine.
Can't really necessarily kill it now.
It's one of those.
Complete transition to work.
I have a discussion on. I like the notebook.
You write every time?
Y'all will.
Yeah.
Here we are, my word, perfect word.
If I forgot to create a task, I got off phone calls and go do it, and like, when I put in my time in the week, I'm like.
It's easy for me just to every day.
Yeah, make sure that Tyler and Spencer hear that.
I'll explain the reasoning.
The main one that we have with that is the blog point ones.
That's
You
what,
just have to take that into account.
that's what, no, we probably telling them.
I know that's the issue.
We discovered that you may have spent 6 minutes total.
But you did it
You've
6
got-
different times, so you got an hour. Or, 36.
Yeah, so.
You gotta
And so
do it properly.
you're running, so we're running the problems that,
Let me try, no, I did it on my AT&T, yeah, so let me get somebody else.
as like if I email, so I email Tyler,
Does anybody have Verizon?
I write point one. Then he reads it, and responds. It took him 1 minute, it took me 1 minute.
Right.
So he writes, so I get his email. If I now write point one for reading his email. So I've now had 2 minutes, but according to Cleo, I'm at 12 minutes. And that, you do that over the course of the day, and all of a sudden, so what we're experiencing is clients are getting these feed sheets that show the work that we did, and they're like, on February 10th, there's 27 review correspondence, and it's, so that's the problem, that's, that running the timer captures exactly, so
I think you can do that though in a certain
if you're
way.
accurate, if it's accurate, that's what,
No, yeah, I write, like, we do it, hour a minute.
I'm just telling you that
Same
it's,
time, right again.
we're seeing point.
But when I like you got your hour minute stuff in there, that's how, and yeah, that way, like if I come back to the matter that day.
That's what I think, yeah, if I have to go back to like whatever that one is there, we'll just add to it. But I'll make a little asterisk today, like, I have enough kids.
Sometimes I get a review.
Yeah.
Or have your
No,
whole,
honestly, it takes a while, it takes some time to go and like, pull up my Clio, stop timer, type, you have to type them right then and there what you're doing.
and you may end up then revisiting that same matter.
Yeah, but then you just click, you re-click it.
I gotta put it down.
Hey, guys.
I think the time you take doing that adds up. It does.
But you
It's
don't
a
have to
whole-
listen to your
it's
voice.
probably like
I'm
a
not hearing
whole-
my voice
it's
either.
probably-
I don't know.
You're losing time.
Look, there's
You're-
that.
That's
nice to have you.
No, what you were doing was ridiculous.
That was very time
I'm
consuming.
sorry you guys don't feel
That
good.
was very
Well,
time.
Jason, you feel good, but you're just not here.
He adds his time.
Dinah, I hope you feel better.
Who was?
Oh.
That was very time
Maybe
consuming.
next time.
Tyler's like, you just have the activity staff.
We'll make up for it next time.
For 2 years.
Okay, guys, all right, enough of that. So, you look at the list, we've consumed it. What do we think? Well, Phil was over here writing, I think he's written a dissertation or something, so we may ask for him first. Okay. Now remember, rocks, right? These are big things. We are looking for 3 to 4. I don't want 10 pebbles. You guys don't want 10 pebbles. That is not the purpose of taking you guys offline for a whole day. That's not why we're here. So let's get done what we need to do while you're here, okay? Let's use our time wisely. So talk to me. We'll go through the list in a minute, but before we do, I just want to hear generally, if somebody could say, all right, we are going to do 3 things to improve our business in the next 90 days, what would they be from everybody? And everybody's got to talk.
Make sure all billable hours are getting put into Clio.
Okay, so, all right. All right, so billable hours, right? So Clio billable hours, okay. All right? So then this is gonna be some options, and we're gonna choose from all these options that you give us, big one. Okay.
Can you put something as a
Yeah,
sub to
yeah,
that?
No.
That they're clear, that the input is not something that has to constantly be revised. You know what I'm saying? Like when you put your billable out, when you describe what you're billing for, that you're very specific, less is
And
more.
Okay.
concise.
Yeah, precise.
Okay,
Less
so
is
are
more.
you guys, so you guys are doing like we do with our programmers, right? So you've gotta keep timers, right? And you guys are doing it through Clio? I'll get these young programmers,
That's-
honestly.
That's another one of the issues is whether we do it through Clio or not. But
Oh, okay, yeah, but you have to do some kind of timing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, before it was hard, so I'll get these young programmers, you know, because they do some software stuff now, and they'll be like, oh, we have to click a timer. I'm like, dude, do you want to get paid? If you want to get paid, you have to click a timer. If you only knew what we used to have to do to keep up with time, this is super simple, let's click a timer. Some are more simple than others, though. I use Clockify, and it's kind of like what I have to use. I'm not as big of a fan. I think it's easier to make a custom system, but whatever works. So you want clear,
Yeah, precise,
precise.
clear, precise, yeah.
All right?
Get Dinah help.
Get Dinah help, okay?
Room for
Wait, so
everybody.
Dinah's the paralegal, right?
Yes. She's currently the civil.
A-H-D-I-N-A?
yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what kind of help? Specific.
Could be another paralegal or a legal assistant.
Why?
She's overwhelmed.
Why?
Because
She does.
she is the civil
Because she has
paralegal for every associate, and we've
Because
taken
she
on,
outgrown one person.
we've
She has
taken,
4 attorneys pulling at her all the time.
Alright. You're gonna wonder why I keep saying why. It's called the 5 whys, okay? Every car manufacturer in the world uses 5 whys. Mercedes started it ages ago. I worked for Mercedes for 35 years, all right? They do a 5 why. So the other day, my son, during Christmas, he's supposed to work for our company, right, the hardware, we make him work, so he comes in, and he was late, he's supposed to be there at 8, comes in at 8:30. I just looked at him, he said, I know, I'm late because of pizza. I kind of looked at him and said, look, Mom, my whole life, you 5 why'd me to death. He said, so I decided I was gonna do it on the car coming in. And he said, you're gonna say, Cole, why are you late? I'm gonna say, I'm late because I slept in. Why did you sleep in? I slept in because I was tired. Why were you tired? Because I stayed up till 2 a.m. Why did you stay up until 2 a.m.? Because I had indigestion. Why did you have indigestion? Because I ate pizza. He said, so I'm late because I ate pizza. And I was like, okay, I'm good with that. So I'm gonna tell you, whenever you guys say something, think about the 5 whys, because sometimes you have to dig. What it looks like is not what it is. You've got to dig to get to the root of the problem, to solve that issue, rather than the surplus stuff that sits on top of it, right? Because sometimes we just see the surface stuff. But if you dig a little bit, you can kill the root real quick, and then you don't have all the other stuff coming up. So, all right, so Dinah needs help because there are 4 attorneys, but she needs help really because this area, and she does what now? What's her specific?
Civil.
Civil, domestic, juvenile.
Okay, so that means that this area of your practice is growing faster, larger?
Yes,
It's just that we have like one criminal paralegal, one paralegal that does like probate.
Right.
And then Donna does everything else.
Okay, so does the everything at some point in the future need to be split? Is there,
Yes.
can you see a separation?
Yes.
Tyler, how?
I don't know if it's a clear separation,
Yeah.
but there is a, yeah.
There is
it's
a definite possibility to have a
Yeah, I
separation
would
of
think
tasks.
so.
Okay, all right, so.
The problem is civil just, it takes up so much, so
Okay, so
different
just
types
longer
of cases.
process, more stuff that, okay.
Just different types of cases.
All right, so there's a good chance then that you guys need to know that going forward, that is a gap that you have, right? That you need to fill that spot. Okay, so good. All right, next.
We need room for those people, like, for people to have,
Workspace.
I mean, just to see it.
Works, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just really workspace.
Right.
So this, it may be kind of my take on combining some of these.
Yes,
And also answering why, but in short, clearly define intake roles and responsibilities.
Okay, clearly define intake roles and responsibilities. So you mean when a client comes in, is that what you're talking about?
Right.
The onboarding, intaking of a client?
Right.
Okay,
Making sure everything is in Clio and at an attorney's fingertips, that whoever is assigned the task automatically follows up on retainers, notifies attorneys when the retainers have been paid. That is kind of a complete package, and I think that's evident in maybe 5 or 6 of these.
that's what I kept saying, sort of a replication of some of
Yeah.
those. So, but the intake process, see, so if we make that a rock, right? So if we say, okay, we need to better define, clarify the intake process. So what does that look like?
Well, like when we take, and Greg types up his consult notes, well, he doesn't necessarily know if they've paid, but they act like they're going to, so we start work. But we've stopped that. We don't start work till we've been retained.
So
And that's what we've got to make sure first off is, hey, they've paid us. So we don't start working when we don't. So that's something that we've got to make sure of.
I feel like we're much better at that.
But-
of that.
but
It
it starts,
is.
it starts a little earlier
Yeah.
than that also. It
Yeah.
starts
The
when they
intake,
call
yes.
in.
Everybody does it different.
Okay?
I have found a way that I do it, that doesn't mean that it's my correct way, it's just an easier way for me.
But once we document all those
We need-
processes,
we-
that way we'll
We
be the
need
way.
to all be on
Okay.
the same page for an intake, how,
Okay.
how you want this, if you want an estate plan, you want a divorce, you need this, we need to have all that lined up going in after they meet with their attorney. I feel like that we need to know.
After they meet with the attorney? Spencer.
After the consult, yeah,
Yeah.
and timely, not sitting in a scan file for 2 weeks, but, and if I do the consult, or Greg does the consult, or whoever's doing the consult, Tyler, and, or if Greg's just being assigned to somebody else, generally, I think that information coming across the desk or knowing it's there and not having to follow up, Greg may send you the consult notes, but we not know if somebody paid, and then we send 4 different emails over the next 30 days. Have they paid? Have they paid? Do I need to open my file? What's going on? All of that collectively could be 25 minutes for one person at the end of the month, and that's not billable.
So-
And part of that too, no, that's.
No, I mean, just because, I mean, this is part of what I have to do. The process could be simplified from the very, very beginning. When we get all the intake for consults, the attorney meets with the client. So if the consult knows, go into Clio,
As
but
soon as you're
I've
done.
not had any kind of notification that there's been a retainer quoted, you know, we've got to figure out how I can, request payment and get a retainer agreement to them, because that's my responsibility I don't know to do that if I don't know that they've been quoted a retainer. See what I'm saying? Like, that's where we're having a gap. But the process as far as beginning work should be fairly clear, because Greg gets a notification, new retainer. If you don't get a new retainer email, they've not paid a retainer, because I'm going to notify you if the retainer's been paid. So no work should ever be done until Greg forwards that to whoever is gonna work the case, which is, he's assigning. But until that new retainer comes to him, there's been no retainer paid. So, I mean, that process should be simplified already. No work should be done until Greg gets that, and then he issues whatever. I don't know that process, because he didn't reply to me. He's replying to y'all. But until that's come through his email, there has been no retainer. But where we're missing it right now is requesting payment, requesting a retainer fee be prepared. Now, you do that really, when you have a consult, you'll send me an email and say, but we've got 5 attorneys, so everybody's gonna have to do it the same way.
Exactly.
Consistent.
Process documentation.
Yeah.
But this right here could be nipped real quick.
Right, and part of it too is, we don't all sit in each other's seats during the day, so the best perspective is different from
Right.
somebody else's, but
Right.
oftentimes, even though Greg may not have their retainer, it's already on his stickler system, so 2 weeks later, it's, so if you had a chance to look at this yet, it's like, well, that's why you're getting emails is, hey, have we got it paid? And all of that collectively, I think, the firm as a whole, because I know just what time I spend on it, is losing time that could be spent
Right.
effectively elsewhere.
Unbillable time, right?
And
Yeah,
when I get that
administrative
email,
time, yeah.
when I get
yeah.
that email from him, has a retainer been paid? You know,
And then she's thinking, well, have I dropped the
yeah,
ball or
I'm
something?
thinking, where
Yeah.
we drop the ball?
And then we start the overlap. Have you done? I've done. Have you done what we've done?
Yeah.
We can, yeah,
Okay,
So
so
we
see
talked
these.
about a problem, I don't know how we resolve.
right.
I mean,
And
But
with,
yeah.
and with Clio, unfortunately, only the admin can see transactions. Like, it won't allow just every user to see if people have paid. Like, they can see all the expenses, all the activities, but it will not allow them to see transactions.
Okay,
Is
so
the retainer contract uploaded to the Clio file after they do it? Is that, okay, it is?
Yes, but on this same note, since we're dealing with this specific thing, if I could go look at each consult during the week, now you gotta remember how many consults that
Right.
entails. And see the consult notes for myself and see what was quoted. Well, you're talking about time, and I know, you know, it takes time for the attorney to send me that email. I quoted such and such, had this consult, I don't have to have all the consult notes, but it would, time-wise, to avoid the gaps and the overlaps, the attorneys will have to let me know. There's really, you know, I don't know if that's the answer, but, or
It's up-
if not, I've got to go read every consult note for every
Well, that makes
consult
no
that's
sense.
gone
No.
through.
Right, well, and something, you've got clients too.
Yeah, I
who
mean,
will
I've got the
also-
front door.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
just misrepresent. Greg quoted $500 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's not the case, like Greg didn't, there was somebody that did that recently. It's
Right.
like, no,
Like, that's not
he did
correct.
not do that. I wasn't there at the end of the consult because he left. So that communication is key.
And I think it can really be simplified in like just 4 steps. I mean,
Oh, good.
because I knew we were talking about this.
Wait, let me get a pen, okay.
And then 4 steps off of that, I think you can find the issues. I mean, first off, it's the intake, which you already have one up there.
Right.
So really, we just need a policy and a procedure
Yep.
about when someone calls, how that works, what's being sent out to the. And I think we're there. I think there.
Which
for
we
most
tend to
part.
put on the appointment
Mhm.
is on there. Intake sent, consult
And then
fee,
yeah,
make sure
paid.
it's being set up in the calendar, and that's all paralegal. That's no attorneys at that
Okay,
point.
so, and I'm sorry, 3 was what now, calendar?
Well, two. So pause. 2 is the consult. That's
Right,
the
okay.
attorney. So we're gonna meet with the client. We're gonna talk with them. We just need it just needs to be a set time that we get our notes into Clio. And
Okay, so
if
you have
it's
a
24
timeline?
hours, it's 24 hours.
Okay.
If it's before the end of the day, it's before the end of the day.
All
And
right.
Greg's really good at that.
But I'm really not, that's the problem,
That, yeah.
that's probably where I'm probably not. I
Your
mean,
main thing is getting your handwritten notes. And same thing, policy.
Documents
is
they give you,
if
don't
you
give
have
them to
documents, they
Greg.
immediately go to the paralegal or to the scan file.
Well, I mean, I just,
Well,
like, at the end of the day, my problem is I may have 6 consults
Right.
back to back.
Yeah.
I can't sit in, I'm not gonna take the time between to do it. So usually that's taking place, that's what I'm
In the
doing at
next
night.
consult, yeah.
I'm drafting or now I'm dictating them, but my consult notes, and so Beth isn't learning of what I quoted in the consult sometimes at the earliest that evening, maybe by the next day if I can get to it. Because then I have court the
We
next
met
day.
in court the next day, or the next 2 days.
That's why the third step is it could be taken out of the attorney's hands, so we do need a policy in place about what retainers we're quoting for one, but who's quoting those retainers.
Right,
Greg will tell the clients normally, look, this is what I'm quoting.
right.
The problem is it takes until the notes come in to get that on paper.
Which
That-
slows down
but
everything.
we don't need to get all the notes out. The simple, look, this is what we're charging, that's a simple, you tell a paralegal and that goes into Clio.
Well, I think a great idea, you know how we do, or how we're trying to do with the estate
Estate
planning,
plans
the
is-
fee sheet, so we need to have like a little binder like we used to that has the fee sheet in it, and make sure everybody's, that we're on the same page about what's being quoted.
And we need to.
And it's been updated, but we need to look and really revise
And we
it.
do need to work on being a little bit more a-holes part. We gotta quote, we got business now that we can turn away people if they can't pay. That's just an opinion, but I think if you have a policy in place that says this is what we're quoting, it makes
And not
everybody's
shy
lives a
away
lot
from
easier.
it and back away from it, because we're national in Alabama, they can't, you
But
can't.
but the retainer part of it can really be out of the attorney's hands after the quote. I mean,
Right.
once we get a number, it can be out of our hands.
Okay, so it's at this point that it drops down somewhere else,
I think
right?
so. And then fourth is just whether the matter is gonna be open or closed. And
Okay,
that's
say
the
that
thing,
again, no matter when it.
whether the case is actually gonna be opened or if it's gonna be closed.
Okay, so like close mean, no, we don't wanna take it,
Meaning
no, they
they're
don't
not-
wanna pay.
They're not paying it, or they're not gonna, and that could just be I think we just need like, for example,
21 days.
Beth got probably 4 emails exactly 8 o'clock this morning, because I sent them last night,
Right,
all saying, hey, can you follow up with this client? If they're not gonna pay, send a simple closing letter.
right.
That can be a simple look. If they haven't paid in 21 days, that is an
That could
automatic.
be an automatic.
That's an automatic,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
make a
yeah,
phone call and
yeah.
you close.
Yeah,
Because we had somebody call this week for a retainer that was a year ago, and, they were still wanting that quote that they were quoted a year ago.
well, you know what, when you used to sell lumber for $4 for a 2x4, and you're not gonna get that now, so yeah.
But
that's
that makes a clear, really the attorneys are just number 2 with the consults
Yes.
and quoting the retainer. Everything else is paralegals.
Okay.
Now, at some
So
point,
what I was saying, like if we had the little fee sheet, just like we do with the estate planning, I mean, even if it could just be simple, like, we could just
I
have, maybe printed on our letterhead and just have client, retainer quoted, they sign off, we sign off, it's handed, it's separate from your,
I agree.
it's separate from your notes, it's handed to Sherry, Beth, whatever.
And it
at
takes
the
away
end.
from that situation where we're trying to get, so like, we have an issue with getting retainer agreements out the door.
Right.
And the main reason is just because we're customizing them every time. So sometimes Beth does not have the time
Right.
to sit there and customize
Right.
something.
And you've been in it, so yeah.
But something simple that just says, look, this is what we've quoted you, it locks
Right.
into a price, I agree, like we do on estate plans, then we can get the retainer agreement signed when they actually hire us.
And then if the attorneys, when they're doing their notes, if they would type up, I quoted this, but until we're paid, don't start work, and, they'll start giving instructions and say, go ahead and do this, this, and this, but not till we've been paid.
But we take that out though, because again, it is,
It drops
we're
out.
knowing what the quote is that
Yeah.
day, and we're not doing anything until Beth says
But
we have money in
sometimes-
the account.
But sometimes the email says, go ahead and do this. No, we don't need to go ahead
Don't
and
do
do that
anything.
till
Okay.
we've been paid.
Okay, so who's in charge of this first step? Who does the
I do
intake?
the intake.
Okay,
Okay,
so I'm gonna put A for Ed. Okay, no, Ed.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
intakes, if we
Yes.
had, this is kind of a minor detail, not even, but a standard naming convention, like in the description, even though the client's name's up there, the client's name needs to be in the description too. Because otherwise, when you go to enter your time, it'll just say like, D
Smith,
work.
yeah.
I do.
No, it won't even say Smith, it just says D work, like the
Oh,
description
oh, yeah,
matter.
yeah.
And we,
Then I'm like, well, there's 5 different D work matters,
Right.
which number is the one for
Well,
Dennis Smith?
I'm gonna jump in
Yeah.
on that, let me jump in on that. Part of the problem is, let's say that that Sherry the way it's happening now, we've added with Clio, this intake, and they are actually, the clients are entering, a majority of them are entering their information. It automatically creates a client,
Case.
no, not a
No,
matter,
it is
not a
a
matter.
person.
It creates a client contact for
Yeah.
that one individual.
Right.
So then, they may call in and say, so for instance, JC and I did one yesterday. They called in and said, this is an air property case. So they tell Sherry, I've got air property. So she writes it on there as air property. And so the way it shows up is the client, then she writes air property. She doesn't know much about, in that initial consult, what it's really about. And often the clients doesn't. So the case yesterday had nothing to do with heirs property. It was a landlocked case.
Okay.
And so, but they don't have enough information, and that's the reason that I know people,
I have a fix for that.
but people make fun of me because I am still creating matters. Because,
Which, we had a meeting next month ago, it's Greg, stop making matters.
I know, so I'm just saying,
It doesn't matter, Greg.
so,
Don't matter.
but because I know what the case is about, I can go ahead and introduce.
I understand.
There is an easy
But-
fix for what Spencer's saying, though. It's an easy fix.
You include the heirs, that's fine, but even though their name's already there,
Stick it in there anyway for illustration.
It's an easy fix.
Okay.
Just when you schedule the consult, you have the opportunity to put the matter in the actual calendar.
Okay.
You just
Put more description.
well, you just attach the matter. Then it doesn't matter what the description says at that point in time because it's with the calendar, so you know that's what it's.
But there's not a
But look
matter
at,
created.
But there is
that's
matters
it's
being
not that
created.
big. That's really.
There are at consult.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
okay, yeah,
So,
It might not
so
be supposed to be.
I think this is an important gap
Okay.
in information for all of us. So,
I hear it.
Like, wrap around. So,
this may not be a 90-day ride.
We're on the 180-day plan here.
okay, first of all, these are easy fixes. Like,
Well,
I don't wanna, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, because we can fix this, but literally, the process is, they call, they schedule an appointment. She sends out a link for them to fill out a form. On that same email, when Sherry sends it, it also has a Clio pay, a law pay, where they're gonna pay for their consult. Okay, so they're getting intake form, they're getting a authorization to pay for their consult. Now, it's up to me and Sherry. Now, this is another overlap that we need to not do, because there's no sense in Sherry doing what I've done, or me doing what Sherry should do, but at the same time.
Yeah, but you're in between two worlds. So
Yeah.
right? You're in this world, you're half in Clio, you're not sure.
And I know this seems very elementary, but intake is a lot of back and forth. So anyway, to address what Tyler was saying, when they send in their intake form, it comes into Clio Grove. Nobody's tapped into Clio Grove but me and Sherry. Nobody else looks at it, nobody even knows what it is, to be honest. So when it comes to Clio Grove, we have to export that to Clio Manage, which everybody can see. When we do that, it's automatically inputting everything that client put on their form. It goes straight to Clio. See, and that's something that, honestly, they don't have to know.
No, but it helps them
But they
to
need
know
to know
because
the
it.
process that we're going through. So when we export it, Greg, we're describing the matter right there. All we know is this is domestic relations.
What we've been
They're
talking
fighting, they want a divorce. So we put, and so what I'm asking the attorneys to do, which I haven't made clear, I've talked to Greg about it, but I'm sure he hasn't remembered, because honestly, how could you remember all this stuff?
Oh, yeah, but you're gonna meet once a
I
week.
know, but now we have.
It's all good.
I know, but I'm saying, when that matter's been generated, it's been, so y'all see on your Clio, on your intakes, you see Clio number, All we know is it was about air property, it's about land issues, they don't know, like y'all said, so we've created that Clio matter. Honestly, all you have to do to fix the description as the attorney, or I'll do it for you, just tell me to, is you go in there and you
Edit.
edit the matter, and name it what you wanna name it. No more creating two, you don't have to create another one, just go revise the one that's already been created. We've told you which Clio matter it is. It's on your page, it's on your email.
It's funny enough, the names of them are just, that's something, that if it's
Yeah,
not
that's
done, if
easy.
it's not done right away, Greg will see it and fix it, or I'll,
Right, right,
or
right,
one of the
right.
attorneys
Yeah.
will see it and fix it.
But doing things that we know have to be fixed.
Right.
That
If we
just
can do-
spends time, yeah.
If
Like,
we can do
yeah,
it in front of
let's
you.
just
So,
do it right the
let-
first time.
Let me ask this question, and there may not be a way with the way Cleo grows stuff right now. When you put in that description, let's just say John Doe came in about a divorce case. Is contact's gonna be John Doe and Roe, and then you enter a description, right?
And we can put John Doe,
Divorce.
civil litigation, we can do that.
Is that description gonna follow him on every matter that's ever open for him?
No.
No, because you'll
Okay,
go
that's
into
separate.
his, because when you go into Clio Manage, which we're used to doing, and you create a new matter,
It falls
but
in
see,
there.
honestly, we don't want y'all to create anything new. We're just, to litigate,
That's not a y'all thing.
okay. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think-
I hear you.
Put
I
a
need to
name
separate
in the
like
description,
you
even though it's
can
redundant, But that way, it's,
Sounds like you
it's
can
there,
do
and you
that.
go in there in your time
You
or
understand
whatever.
what he's saying?
I'm not sure, so.
When we export from Clio Grove,
Yes.
he's saying if it's Sherry Hurst is the client, and the matter description is air property, he's asking us to put Sherry Hurst air property. Sherry Hurst is actually air property.
And-
That's
and-
gonna-
We're gonna get
Just
our
say the
leads
title
in a
to the
minute, I
title to the
promise.
deal.
Got it. And why, you want that because when you go into manage,
And you type in the name.
It doesn't show you.
We don't let it go so they get excited about it. All right,
feels so
good.
I know, I got even the bills done.
And the only other one that is probably separate from that is, I think, a big rock,
Yes.
conflict checks.
What'd you say?
Conflict checks.
Okay, I heard you say coffee, I was like,
Well,
okay,
yes,
yeah,
coffee,
conflict.
conflict checks,
Right.
which again is part of all that, and
Right,
it's,
right.
We've
and,
gotten better with our.
All right, so,
Combine.
all right,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, I just wanted to make sure, that's also a paralegal thing.
all right.
I agree.
Okay, so-
We all open a new matter. 5 minutes later, Greg's like, it's open. I was like, you're not supposed to be doing this, it's also something.
We're taking
I love
that privilege
this.
away from you,
I'm
Greg.
not gonna
Because-
copy them.
Can you guys see how meeting once a week?
Oh, wait a minute, wait a
Wait,
minute.
can you
Diane-
see?
oh, I'm sorry, Diane,
Oh.
Jacy or Diane, are y'all have input or have y'all been able to hear anything?
I'm reeling. But, okay, but do you guys see how valuable that is every single week? Can you imagine in 4 weeks how much of this is just gonna go away? Because you've just simply had a minute to talk about it and say, hey, this is what I see, that's what I see, I don't agree, well, let's agree on this. But here's what I'm gonna encourage you guys to do. Beth, Sherry, you guys just told me about a process. Write it down. Every single time you go to do something for the first time, in the next week, write it down. Start a sheet of what you're doing. And then every time you may stop at step 4 because that's just life, and you may come back. Do it on your computer. I'm not actually saying physically write it down if you don't want to. But let's start to create processes around this, and those will become discussion points in your weekly meetings. But, okay, so rocks, right? What time is it? Gotta do a time check?
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, okay, so we're going to come back and revisit rocks, because when you guys get to take a beautiful tour of this lovely place, you may think of others, but right now, all of this to say intake process is a rock, correct? Now, here's the thing about rocks too, if I can find mine. Right? And you guys just proved the point, we don't want a rock that's like this, because that just rolls on down the way, and you don't have to do it, don't have to do it, don't have to do it. You want a spiky rock. You want a rock that looks like that, with tons of edges, so it doesn't go anywhere. And when you're done with it, you're done with it. And so what you guys are explaining is this, right? Workflow and process. And that's all I've heard. You guys had specifics, I got it. It's just workflow and process. Who does what, when, in what order. And when you finally get one down on paper, you're gonna revise it 3 times. You're gonna look at it and go, well, we thought that it should go to Beth after this point, but no, and Spencer's gonna say, well, you know what, it would be a whole lot easier if we did this, and you're gonna refine it, and you're gonna redefine it. And that's the way that goes, but we have to start somewhere. So, we have intake, and I love what Tyler said, looking at those 4 points. Conflict checks are another big rock, or is that a pebble?
No, I think we're gonna put that.
But it's also not that big, it's just who
Yeah,
does
that's what I'm
it.
saying, yeah, it's not
Yeah,
a rock.
it's
So
just
we
who
only
does it.
have 1 rock. We need 2 more rocks.
No problem.
Because, yeah,
Well, we
I
come
thought
back,
Dinah was
we're
our,
gonna
I
have
thought
the-
getting help for
yeah,
Dinah was
I mean,
all right.
yeah, go outside, get some sun, but I need some more, I don't want pebbles, I want something that you can chew on for 90 days.
The help for Dinah is gonna be a rock.
And I do
Well,
think-
that's an intake, though,
I
I'm
think
not
the
sure.
fees,
The
what,
fee
what
schedule
we're
stuff.
charging,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
is a big enough rock to take out of there.
Yeah, I do too, because I saw it on that list multiple
What if you
times.
feel like you have a rock, but it really doesn't apply, but to the.
Then that's your
admin side?
rock, because we're talking about company rocks.
Right.
And after we've got 3 company rocks, you guys are gonna sit and fill out your own rocks, your departmental rocks, your
Because a lot of
personal
times
position rocks.
you don't address things that
By
you
the way,
feel like,
we're
well, I
gonna
mean,
do it for-
it really doesn't apply to anybody, but.
Oh, but here's
You
the
know,
thing,
so-
in your weekly meeting, you've gotta throw it out because everything interconnects. And you may say, hey, I got this problem when this happens, and someone could say, yeah, but anyway, I do a little bit of that, if we just combine,
Right.
you wouldn't believe how that's going to help when you start to discuss those.
A
Now-
rock for me is, like, we're gonna have this meeting on Friday.
Right,
No, that's
So,
great.
we're gonna
Those
meet with the
reminders.
attorneys
I
on
think it's more
Friday.
so.
And then I have to start meeting with the
I said it
attorneys
myself. I
once
don't
a
know how to
week,
do it
going over
on-
their cases, and they're like, we don't have enough time to do all these meetings, and
why don't we combine some?
Well, that's a lot of that overlap.
see, that's-
we've been talking
That's
about.
that overlap,
Yeah.
yeah, why don't
This
we,
is,
yeah.
that's what I was saying at the very beginning, is there's a difference of what, the way I see it, there is a difference with what this is for today, is more business-oriented processes,
Right,
but not what she's talking about is case-specific on, there's a process that's overlapping, but
Right.
she's,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
over
you're in charge.
specific
Sure, sure.
cases.
sure. And
And
there needs to be those conversations with you guys, absolutely, sure.
so that's what she's, but,
Yeah.
and so improve, and figure out a way, because Spencer talked to me about this the other day, of the redundancy, because he's getting hit with Lee wanting a 30-day split, then he's getting hit with me at least every 60 days.
Sometimes we get Kelly too, the same week.
And then he gets me
Why
also
not?
from, because I put ticklers 10 days out on a hearing. Well, I'm gonna follow up
And,
every,
and usually, at least myself, also have my own ticklers and
Yeah.
everything. to
Sure, sure.
keep- So,
That's a lot to get your arms around, right? But
Well,
I'm just gonna say to you, if you can't spend 1 hour a week getting your head over the weeds and making sure that everything's working the way that you want it to work and everything is interconnected, and start getting rid of those, overlaps and start filling in those gaps, in a month, you will be amazed at what it starts to look like. Is it gonna be perfect? No, but it's gonna be a month and a month anyway. Let's knock this stuff out. And as a community, you guys are coming together representing every single section in your business, right? So everybody has a voice. And everybody can say yes and no. And it's gonna be up to Greg to facilitate that. And with the agenda I'm gonna show you, it's pretty simple. We can't get lost rabbiting, we can't do that, or nothing gets done. So, all right, go, enjoy, soak up the sun.
Beth, do you have any suggestions if they wanna
I mean-
I was thinking down the
Walk to the
waterfall.
waterfall, it's just beautiful right now, doing so much rain, so, yeah.
Aw,
I know where it's at.
okay.
Greg knows where it's at.
Greg can
And
lead
he's
the
a
way.
5K.
He'll be
He
the
needs to
trail
oh, I didn't
leader.
go with him.
All right, so, what's the
Lunch,
time?
lunch at
No,
30.
don't y'all go
Okay,
walk.
lunch in 30 minutes.
12:30. Be back,
Yeah.
be back at 12:30 for lunch.
Okay.
It's 12:30.
And then have a list of rocks, because we got a vision build. Bye. Oh, we are.
JC Don, we're gonna eat lunch at about 12:30, and then we'll try to get back by 1:30, if not earlier. And we actually may, eat lunch. We actually may eat
Yeah, no, I should, not start.
I will text you when we're ready to get back.
I didn't know this.
I hope so.
If you have to do something like
Okay.
on it, you know what it is, we can go fix it. It should be on the outside.
Yes,
That's just a protection, it's like,
it's usually, I notice it more often,
Let me get my
not
walking shoes.
necessarily grass, but particularly like the consoles.
I brought walking shoes.